Grumman Widgeon's, the designation for a Grumman Widgeon is a G44, a Golf 44. It's a 1943. My model is 1943. Serial number is 1917. They made them, I believe, between around 1940 and 1945. And I'm not sure how many were produced. Someone told me today 250. But there are less than 50 of them flying today. And it was geared towards that high net worth individual from New York that lived on Long Island that wanted to commute to work in Manhattan. And they started it out as going after that group as a private flying boat. And of course the war started soon after that, and the market for that market was destroyed, and they ended up going after, the Coast Guard ended up adopting the airplane as a transport airplane. But in addition to that, they had some of these airplanes actually doing surveillance up and down the coast of the Gulf Coast, and in Alabama, Mississippi, and Louisiana. And I flew Bonanza for years, and I'd flown my airplane up to Victoria, and this guy landed a Widgeon there, and I looked at it and I thought, you know, it's like all the heavens opened up and the angels sung, and there was a rainbow, and you know, little children started dancing around singing, and it was just one of those moments where I thought, this is the airplane for me. You know, it's the right size. It's not too big. You can handle it by yourself. You don't need a crew. It's got 2 engines and it floats. It's a classic airplane, which I love classic airplanes. And I asked the guy, you know, if he'd be interested in selling it. And he laughed. He said no. He said, but you know, the airplane's everything that you think it is. It actually does everything I want it to do. I've had the airplane since 1998, so I've had it for 12 years. And when I was looking for it, this guy found, you know, it was an email that was tied to another email that was tied to another email. And it finally got around to this guy in Bedford, England. And he said, he called me, and I was right there doing an inspection. I had my mechanic there. I was about to put an offer on this one up in Portland, Maine. And he said, I've got the best one in the world. If you want the best Widgeon in the world, I've got the best Widgeon in the world. He said, I completely tore it apart down to every rivet, you know, every wire, you know, and pulled the airplane down to just small pieces, and then I put brand new pieces to replace it, and spent 3 years doing it. My love for flying started when I was a kid, and my dad flew in the Army Air Corps, I think is what it was called at the time, during World War II, and he was an instructor in B-25s and B-26s. Anyway, he just kind of, I think that's where it started. I was into model airplanes, and so I knew as soon as I was legal to fly, I wanted to get my license. So I was actually bussing tables in Destin, Florida, and I would hitchhike to the airport and get a lesson. It was $16 an hour. I think that included the instructor, and so I got my license when I was 16, and soloed in, I think, 10 and a half hours, and I've been flying ever since. So I'm 59. I can't do the math, but for a long time. Monty Blues was the director of the Santa Rosa Island Authority, and Monty loved airplanes, and he loved aviation, and he was always trying to get a splash in there at the island, and he and I would talk about that, and you know, there's some minor acts all leading up to the Blue Angels, and he and I were talking. I said, you know, I've got the only airplane in Pensacola that's in the Naval Air Museum, and it's the only one that's flying that's in the Naval Air Museum. It's stationed right here. You know, I said, if you ever wanted me to, you know, do a flyby, I'd be happy to do it. And he latched on to, and now I've got my 5 minutes of fame. It's just a thrill. I usually bring my niece with me on the practice day, and my daughter flies as my co-pilot on the show day. There's you know, there's this resolve, I think, that comes from a crisis like this that makes you even more determined to bring normalcy back to the area. And so it was with you know, it's with a lot more resolve this year that we were going to do it, you know, come hell or high water. We're gonna do the show. We're gonna try to make things appear as normal as they have been in the past, and for a moment try to forget that we're in the middle of this crisis.